Hello and welcome to Instant Transmission, a podcast where we discuss everything Dragon Ball and the difference between Japanese character pronunciation and being a racist. Tonight, we're assembling the perfect crew to aid us in our desires for universal domination. Submit your evil resumes and prepare your mustaches for twirling as we prepare to gather our most wicked team. I'm your host, Dayton, and once again, I'm joined by my co-host, Todd.
Hi.
Tonight's episode will be Todd and I picking candidates to form an evil team of 5 henchmen. Each of us will be submitting a total of 3 candidates into the pool, of which the other co-host will choose 2 to make the team. The final spot will be debated over during the redemption round as we debate which make the cut and which get cut from the team in our final 5. So with all that covered, was there anything you wanted to add before we got things started, Todd?
I'm excited to see who we get for our final 5.
So, we thought about this. We actually prepared today. So we do have some extras that may become honorable mentions at the end. So I think it should be a fun episode. And with all that done, you want me to go ahead and submit our first entry?
Yeah, if you wanna start with your first guy on the team or potentially on the team.
All right. Well, I think this one, maybe him being first is a bit of a curveball, but there's no way I'd leave him out. The first entry for our evil team of henchmen is going to be Dabura.
Ooh.
And I love him. His drip is great. Like, he's got just evil vibes about him. And as someone forming an evil henchman team, just someone just looking dastardly just automatically gets some points here. And on top of that, he's a weapon fighter. And I think that is just so badass to have on a team.
So, I mean, right off the bat, I'm going to have to dip into my reserves because Dabura was also on my list for sure.
I mean, he's cool, right? Like, he fights with a sword. He has spit that can turn people into stone. He's got cool and interesting powers, and that's a big part of the reason why I want him on the team. And on top of that, I'm going to assume that we got the same powers as Babidi to control him. So we should have him properly under our thumb. Oh, and by the way, let's go over some of the rules that we decided on for the henchmen, because there's a couple things that we need to put in place. One is we're kind of throwing power levels out the window a bit here, because you would just choose the strongest people, right? And that would be the end of it. So we're going to assume that everyone is on roughly the same power level, and we're going over more kit and personality. So that's why maybe some of these might be a surprise coming up here.
Yeah, and that's a great point. That's probably the primary rule, because if we were just going by who's the strongest, we're just picking things from Dragon Ball Super at that point. Like, there would be no reason to pick anything from original Dragon Ball or Dragon Ball Z. Certainly not from anything earlier in Dragon Ball Z. But Dabura is still, I mean, even with that in mind, he's a strong pick in terms of like power level, but he's just cool, man. Like, he was one of the ones that I had a feeling might be on both of our lists because we both gushed about him a lot.
Yeah, I mean, he was a lot of fun to watch. His fight with Gohan was actually pretty darn good. And on top of that, there's a ton of henchmen in Dragon Ball, but for me, the list of interesting henchmen gets far shorter, and he's high on that list for me. And so I thought this was just a slam dunk, home run, whichever phrase you want to use. He seems just like an obvious in where you've got a henchman who's powerful, who's a good fighter and a diverse fighter. So he's good in a lot of different situations. He's got a trump card with the spit that I think is just easy to apply, right? It's not like some other super weapons where you've got to hold your hands up for 5 minutes and then hit him with it. No, in this case, you just got to spit on him and it's game over.
His spit is honestly almost overpowered. Like, it is very, very strong. But it's mixed in. It doesn't feel like he's just like a boring, overpowered character. It's mixed in with a kit that is like really interesting. Especially if trying to like land the spit, right? Because he can spit out flames, he can use his sword, he can fire regular ki blasts. He's got all kinds of stuff that he can use to try and like get you into a position where he can then spit on you and turn you into stone.
Just a weird phrase to say, but yes.
I mean,
and I mean, it's hard to even like argue against the effectiveness of that, right? Like, it's pretty self-evident that being able to just one hit KO most opponents is a powerful thing to have on your team. And on top of that, I know I mentioned it, but it's something that you'll see with a lot of other henchmen in Dragon Ball is that loyalty and controllability is a factor that I keep in mind. And that's why he made it very far. Actually, that's why he was number one in my list.
Yeah, that's a fair point. I also just, I mean, he's got kind of like a stereotypical like devil design to him, but I like his design. I think he just looks cool.
Yeah.
Which admittedly I also was kind of taking into consideration.
Oh yeah, there's got to be a rule of cool to it, right? Like
uh,
if they're boring, you don't want them on your list.
yeah, for sure. So yeah, he's a great pick. I'm going to drop him from my main three and dip into my reserves here, which will make this interesting. I'm glad that we picked up some reserves. So, I guess I'll start with my first one.
Go for it.
So, we're gonna jump from probably one of the coolest henchmen to maybe one that people could probably consider a little bit lame, but I think he's got a very interesting power at the very least. And so I went to one of the already pre-established 5-man teams in the Ginyu Force and picking out actually their weakest member in Goldo.
Okay, all right.
So I think out of all of the Ginyu Force, I think Goldo has the most interesting power to me. Being able to stop time is it's very strong, right? His has kind of a downside or a weakness compared to somebody like Hit maybe though, where he has to hold his breath and he can only stop time as long as he can hold his breath. I think it's cool. I think it's interesting. I think it's very strong. I think it's, especially if you have multiple people, if you have a team fighting together, it makes it even that much stronger to be used against your enemies. Like if Goldo can freeze time on one guy holding his breath, and then somebody else can come in and wipe that guy out. How do you beat that, man? That's real powerful in a combo.
Yeah, and it gives the team kind of like a support role, right? Where like somebody like Dabura, he's a fighter. He's a dynamic fighter who can take on many opponents, but he is someone who's going to be on the front lines. Goldo's nice because he kind of tips the battlefield a little bit, where now you're not just doing hand-to-hand combat. Now you have to deal with this time freeze and people moving around, and it really gives your henchman team like a pretty big advantage when they're in the fight. Now, mind you, the team he was on decided that rather than working together, they were all going to work individually. So there's probably a selfish aspect to Goldo that you might have to work with or against. But if you can get his powers in line with the rest of the members, I'm 100% with you. The time freeze ability is extremely potent.
Yeah, and it's funny because I think that I would imagine the Dragon Ball Z audience probably views him as weak, but it's also because he was put out in a fight all by himself. Like as a team player, he's insanely powerful. I mean, just
also, he was winning his fight 2v1. It wasn't like he was a pushover. He was beating Krillin and Gohan at the same time. And the only reason he quote unquote lost is because Vegeta broke the rules that the Ginyu had established.
Yeah, truly. Yeah, that's a great point too. In that, I mean, Goldo probably would have won his fight if Vegeta hadn't jumped in. So I don't know, man. I think he's kind of viewed as a joke, even by like the Ginyu Force and the Dragon Ball audience. But I think he's a great fit for a team.
No, I mean it's a powerful ability. And on top of that, it almost seems like he has like telekinetic powers maybe too, with the way he was like lifting the trees and throwing them as spears and stuff like that. So it's there. He could be an even deeper character than what we were shown.
Yeah, that's a great point. We might not have even seen the full extent of what his abilities can do.
Well, I like that addition. That's a fun one. And I'm going to go ahead and give my next candidate here, who's going to be just a personal favorite. And this is, I might be saying this wrong, but Kashime, which is one of Dr. Wheelo's bio warriors. He's the guy who fights with the electrical whips that he summons out of his arms. And there's a couple cool things with this guy. One, that is one of the more interesting henchman abilities in Dragon Ball. There are so many people that just have a beam attack or something that's a different color, or they're a big, strong doofus. No, this guy's got just a cool ability. And on top of that, it seems like he has some sort of ability to maybe teleport short distances too. It wasn't clear about that, and I tried verifying on the wiki what the heck that was, and they just said it was some sort of teleportation technique. So, um, I mean, it's an interesting fighter with interesting abilities. It kind of fits into that same slot that Goldo's kind of fitting in, where he's going to be more of a support character. He can fight on the front lines, but using those electrical whips to kind of tie down the opponent and set him up for the rest of your team, it's nice having someone who can take maybe a bigger, larger opponent and bring them down to the same level, or even just ensnare them so that way your team gets the advantage. And it's another example of tipping the battlefield, right? It's we're not fighting 100% fair here, but also we're the villains, so we want that.
Yes, definitely. I will say I for sure went back to this movie, to World's Strongest, to look at the henchmen because they are just very interesting. I mean, I think it's this guy. There's another guy who has ice powers, if I remember right, and then there's the big guy who's basically like rubber or elastic. Uh, and yeah, I think that this is an interesting choice. He's going to be. I kind of get the impression, and it's hard to tell based on like the scaling of Dragon Ball at this point in time, but you almost get the impression that his electric whips will like electrify or stun somebody, maybe even regardless of power level, but we're not really focusing on that anyway. So I think he definitely adds some cool utility, and especially if he's got the ability to teleport to short distances, that makes him even more valuable.
Yeah, and the loyalty factor, that's always something I'm going to bring up. I
Mm.
think these bio warriors were kind of crafted to be loyal. And so, assuming we can apply that here, he's also somebody who's going to be under our thumb. This is not somebody we're going to have to worry so much about stabbing us in the back or running off and doing their own ambitious plots against us. And I like that. I like having someone I can control. We've seen what happened with Frieza when he had a certain say in who he couldn't control and how that could really throw a wrench in the spanner. So that's something that I do want to keep in mind when I'm picking out these different candidates. So that's something I also like about Kashime. The only downside is that with the Dragon Ball movies, we don't get a lot of time to feel out the personalities of these characters. So I don't really have a good gauge on like his demeanor outside of he wants to fight people, but that's not a huge deal.
Yeah, personality wise, we don't get much from Kishime, but the loyalty is big. Funny enough, I think between the ones that we've got so far with Dabura, Goldo, and Kishime, Goldo is. I don't think that Goldo's like likely to betray you, but the other two, Dabura and Kishime, basically are like forced into servitude, more or less.
Yeah, and I like that. I like having control over whether they stab me in the back or not.
It's good to have loyal henchmen, that's for sure.
And honestly, when Guldo was defeated, the other Ginyu were making fun of him for being weak and allowing that to happen. So there could even be an element with Guldo where if if you let him kill you, that's your fault.
Ooh, yeah, that's an interesting one. It might even be, I'll say in Goldo's favor too, that it might be a way of like keeping Goldo in line is just kind of razzing him and telling him like, you're weak and getting him to like, prove himself effectively.
Or if you put him in charge of the team, I feel like he would get just glee out of whipping the other henchmen and keeping them in line.
Ooh, that's a fair point. That's a fair point. Yeah, I don't want to dip back into Goldo too much yet, but yeah, I think Kishime is a good. I think he's a good addition. I'm curious to see how this plays out because Goldo and Kishime kind of play support roles. I think Dabura is like a frontliner for sure.
Oh, absolutely. Like you need some muscle. Like there's got to be some balance to your team, right? Like if you get a bunch of meatheads, then one counter counters all of them.
Yeah, exactly. I guess at that point, unless you have anything else to say about Kishime, I think I'll move on to my next one here. So, I think this one's going to be. I don't know if it's a controversial pick. It's going to be an interesting one. I dipped back into original Dragon Ball, and I think one of the reasons this one might be controversial is because some people might say that he's not a henchman, but I think I have counterpoints to make my argument here, because I went with the OG assassin in Tao Pai Pai or Mercenary
Ooh.
Tao.
That is an excellent one. Okay. I mean, he absolutely is a henchman, right? Like, even though he's kind of like a mini boss, you could say, he's working for somebody else. So he, in my opinion, he very much is a 100% a henchman. So yeah. Also, we're being kind of loose with the term henchman here, so he absolutely makes the cut for definition in my eyes.
Yeah, I think he does. He is kind of like you said, like a mini boss is a great way to put it, because he's working for the Red Ribbon Army, right? So that to me, even though he's like a hired assassin, he's absolutely working for somebody else. So he's paid as a henchman. So I don't know. Loyalty might be an interesting one. I guess you just had to pay him enough. But he's, I mean, especially when we see him first in Dragon Ball, he is one of the most badass antagonists that we see. He puts Goku to task, basically, effectively killing him, if not for the Dragon Ball, with his Dodon Ray Ki Blast. And man, I think the first time that we see him, he murders a man with his tongue. Like,
I mean, it's hard to say anything bad about him, right? Because when you meet him, he is the deadliest person that we have seen in Dragon Ball up till that point. He's one of the only people who would just kill somebody in cold blood. Because I almost feel like Mercenary Tao is definitely a change in tone for Dragon Ball once you meet him, because it seems like there's almost like a little bit of a comical level to most other villains up to his point. And it gets less and less as you move along. But Mercenary Tao, there's like the closest you could say to there being any comedy with him is the way he travels around, which I still think is cool, where he takes the pillar and throws it and rides it. Like it's kind of funny, but it's also kind of cool at the same time. But there's this seriousness to him that just none of the other villains have up until him.
yes, very much so. And yeah, there is like, and I think that, I mean, even if we're just talking about Dragon Ball in tone, like the fact that they are able to incorporate comedy with something that is also like comedy in his mode of travel that also makes him a badass and it's cool. Like combining all of those things together is just impressive in itself. But the fact that he just like this man rips a pillar off of the structure at the Red Ribbon Army, throws the pillar, and aims it perfectly to land where Goku is. That's insane.
And he's a master of martial arts, right? Like he's
Yeah.
I believe the brother of the Crane School leader, if I remember correctly.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, if you want somebody who knows how to fight, he's got that in spades for sure.
Yeah, I like that pick. I think that's a fantastic pick, and I'm happy to see him on the list because he's somebody that I did not expect at all.
I definitely wanted to try and find some that were like a little bit off the beaten path for henchmen too. That was something that I was kind of considering. Like I will say, as a spoiler, I think Vegeta could arguably be put on the henchman list because he did work for Frieza, but I didn't put him on my list. Partly because I gush about him enough as it is, but also I feel like it's kind of a cheat as a henchman.
You know, I considered him, but also, like I said, you have to take his personality and loyalties into account. And I would not pick, like, if he was an option, I would not pick him because he would not work for me. The second he had a chance to break free and do his own thing, he would. Like, what a terrible person to have under your control, or quote unquote control.
Yeah, that's another great point. Is that while he is powerful, he doesn't make a great henchman. He's gonna betray you. He doesn't want to be a henchman.
You know, I'm gonna go ahead and move into my last and final pick, and I have two that are competing for the same role because I wanted like a goon. I wanted someone with just like big muscles, just slamming people around, and I'm caught between these two.
Ooh.
And so I guess I'll go with this one, but we'll see how the final round goes, because maybe I'll just throw in this other one for us just to talk about too.
Before you reveal it, I just want to say I have a strong feeling that you and I might have tried to make the same decision here, because I had a goon that I was trying to decide between two as well, and I was like, oh, which one do I put on the list?
You gotta have a goon. You gotta have a big muscle head. All right, I'm just
Uh-huh.
gonna go with probably my favorite goon in Dragon Ball, and it's Raccoon. I love Raccoon. He's got style. His fights is one of my favorite fights in all of Dragon Ball. Full stop. And on top of that, as a henchman, he's got a lot of great features. One is just the overwhelming strength, right? Like he's a strength fighter. He's someone who goes through things, not around things, and I like that. Another thing is that his motives are pretty straightforward. He likes beating people up and he has fun fighting. And so if he's going to betray you, you're going to see it coming. You just have to keep him interested and motivated, and that's it. And I like that about him.
I so do you want to wait to reveal who you were comparing him against? Because I think I know who it was. Because I'm pretty sure I had the same comparison on my.
Maybe my other one is actually, I think, kind of a dark horse. So
Oh, maybe not then. So I was comparing Raccoon and Nappa were the two that I was like, which one of those do I put on my list?
I tell you what, when we get to the final round where we're deciding the pair off between the two last placers, I'll throw in my other one just to see what you
Yeah.
think, because it could be interesting.
I'm very curious. Yeah.
I'll put a pin in that, but I mean, both of us are on board with the Raccoon Boom, right? Like he's an incredible fighter. On top of that, he takes a beating, man. He gets the crap kicked out of him and he gets all of his teeth knocked out of his head. And he just does not stop fighting until he's put down. And I love that. Like, what a tenacious warrior.
The man. So I was trying to decide between Raccoon and Nappa for like meathead or bruiser, whatever you want to call him. I personally like Raccoon more because of how much style he has.
He's fun, right? Like, he's just a
Yeah.
cool guy to have around.
He's just like his whole, and I know Team 4-Star definitely played this up, but he very much has like a wrestler vibe to him. But even then, like, he's getting his teeth blasted out and his hair blasted out, or like, head buried into the ground, and he's still smiling and making jokes and still whooping ass the whole time. Like, the guy is he's got so much flair and pizzazz. How can you not want him on your team?
Yeah, as far as just goons, just people who are going to go out there and just beat the snot out of people. I mean, it's great because when he's not beating the snot out of people, he's fun, he's having a good time. And I mean, I like Raccoon. There's so much bias in this pick that it's hard for me to not bring that up. He's a likable character and he's cool. Like, I don't think I need to say much else. We've gushed about the Ginyu Force so much in the past.
Yeah, I will say the only other reason why I was like debating in my head between Nappa and Raccoon was the fact that I already was putting Goldo on my group, so I didn't want to be like, well, now I'm just recreating the Ginyu Force at this point.
I had a hard rule myself where it's just like, if I'm going to pick Ginyu Force, I can only pick one. And so I had to hold myself to that. So I was just like, all right, I have all these candidates. Only one of them can be a Ginyu Force character. And if Todd picks the same one, then I'm not going to submit a Ginyu Force character, which is also interesting.
I kind of was doing the same thing. I honestly, so what I'll say for my next one is that because my next one was kind of a debate between Nappa and Raccoon, I might just dip into my reserves for my other one so that we don't have two bruisers too, because honestly, Nappa and Raccoon fill the same role, in my opinion.
They're very similar.
Yeah.
They're very, very similar. Yeah, I think I'm with you there. Oh man, this is gonna be tough. Like I'm already liking these five, so and then throwing another one in there is gonna make it difficult for me to pick.
Yeah, I don't know. Raccoon was a fantastic pick. He was a strong candidate for my list too. Did you have anything else you wanted to say about him before I move on to
give me
my
that,
last?
Give me that number 6. I want to know what is it.
All right. So Nappa was one of the ones on my list. I'm going to bypass Nappa in this case because I think Raccoon and Nappa are basically the same role. But I'm going to go to my next pick, which would have been Meta Matcha from the Lord Slug movie. Yeah, you might have to look that one up.
I don't remember. Who is that?
So you'll know exactly as soon as you see him, you'll know, because he's the one in Lord Slug who He's like this green little guy with these big bug eyes. He looks a little bit like Goldo if he were more frog-like. But he creates these tiny little matchas or metas or whatever he calls them that like grow out of his back, and then they latch on to people and blow up.
Oh yeah, that guy with the chameleon eyes going all over the place. Oh, what a disgusting, beautiful henchman.
Yeah, like I really wanted to look through the movie Henchmen because I think there are a lot of interesting movie henchmen, and some of like the Kishime was one of the ones that I was looking at, as well as the other ones of World's Strongest. They have some of the most interesting powers to me. I think Metamacha is the only other one from one of the other movies that I think has like a really interesting power, and being able to just create mini me's that grab people and explode. It's such a I'm not even going to say it's one of the best powers in the world. It's just super cool. There's lots of like flair, and it's just very interesting to me.
So did they do something like absorb the power out of their victims or something like that? Like sap the energy? I'm trying to remember. There was some weird ability going on when they would latch on.
I think they did. I think you're right, because you could see them kind of like flashing, and like people would get weak as they were holding on to them. And then they would also detonate. So I think they can do both, which is, I mean, they're a little bit versatile too.
Yeah, I like that pick a lot. I like the weird stuff, the stuff that makes you think, right? And I mean, gosh, I'm bringing up Goldo all the time in this, but it's kind of like Goldo, where it's another one of those weird abilities that just kind of tilts the battlefield in a direction where now you got to look out for all these little disgusting things running around that if they grab onto you, it could be a big problem.
100%. And I mean, even pairing up like Metamacha and Goldo would be nasty. Like I mean, Goldo with anybody really to me is a nasty matchup, but uh getting like freezing people in time for the little metamachas to latch onto them and suck their energy dry would be pretty mean.
I'm glad you're picking all these disgusting things to put on the team because that they weren't my first choice, but at least they're in the conversation now, and at least one disgusting monster will make the team.
Yeah, we I mean, we've got at least two in here, so yeah, I mean
I
that's
am curious though. What's the loyalty angle to Metamacha? Like, because the movies don't do a good job of really describing that. I sort of made a guess at Kashime. With Lord Slug, I'm guessing there's probably one of two things, or maybe both. One is Metamacha just seems like he's probably got like this devious side where he enjoys inflicting pain. And as long as you're
yeah.
going around doing that, Metamacha probably stays loyal, stays entertained. And it's probably also a respect of power, right? Like if Metamacha thought that he was more powerful than you, he would probably just kill you outright.
That's a great point. Because, and I think that we kind of see that, or it's implied in Lord Slug, because Lord Slug kills one of his other henchmen for basically just being incompetent or back talking him. And so that keeps Metamacha in check. It does seem like Metamacha does enjoy, like he's kind of a twisted little guy. He likes inflicting pain. So as long as you give him that opportunity, he might be fine. But yeah, you might need to have either yourself as the leader of the group need to be powerful to keep him in check, or you need to have another powerful guy on the team to keep him in check. One of those two things, probably.
Yeah, which I mean, assuming that it's your team, you're probably the most powerful person, so it shouldn't be too big of a deal. Just, don't let your grip slip.
Yeah. Admittedly, he might be the biggest struggle to keep in check out of anybody on the list. I will say that about him. I don't know. Well, we'll have to see how we go here with cutting one of the 6, because right now we've got our full 6 and we need to cut it down to 5.
I think yeah, we've got our full 6 here. Let's say go ahead and assemble your order, your top pick from my list, your second pick, and then the third possible cut, and I'm going to do the same for you.
Sounds good.
Just as a reminder, once we do our picks, we're going to take our lowest candidates from each list, we're going to compare them and see which one makes the final cut here. And for me, I'm going to go ahead and just go down my list. I thought Mercenary Tao was one of the best suggestions that I had not even thought about. I think he's just for sure in. He seems like he's got a good demeanor. He's calm. He gets the job done. He's not going to like, because some other henchmen, I worry about their ability to get along with the others. And so, like, group coherency is definitely something that I'm trying to keep into account. And also, he's there for the money, man. Like, as long as you got money, as long as the empire's, popping off and you pay him, he stays happy, you stay happy, you've got a great henchman there. For me, from your list, I think the second best candidate, which is a really tough conversation for me to have between Goldo and Metamacha, because I feel like they both perform a similar role. They're in that like kind of supporting role.
Right.
I think it's Goldo. And I say that because Metamacha is just so weird and twisted and sadistic that he might actually be kind of a turnoff for the rest of the team. And I could see that maybe there's some problems with him getting along with the others. And possibly I could see him maybe just killing people on missions where he probably shouldn't have.
Those are all fair points. Yeah, I'll definitely give you that. The let's see. So I'll go through your list here then. And just as a reminder, just for everybody, for the full 6 that we have, as Dayton mentioned, for my 3, we had Mercenary Tao, Guldo, and Metamacha. And then Dayton's are Dabura, Rakum, and Kishume. So I gotta. Dabura is an easy win. Like he should be on anybody and everybody's minion team or henchman team. He's just, I mean, we're not talking about power level, but he's powerful, he's confident, he's got a dozen different abilities, he's got a very powerful ability in the spit to stone. He's loyal, at least if we're going under the circumstances that we had the magic to control him in this case. I got nothing bad to say about the guy. And he's freaking cool. He's got a sword. Like, he's got style, man.
I think he's a pretty shoo-in because we both gushed about him like right off the bat. You even mentioned he was on your list, so I think this is not really a huge surprise. But I mean, anytime we get to talk about him, I'm happy to do it.
Truly, I love Dabura. I mean, I think it's no shocker with the next one though too, because I also love Rakum. He was arguably, like, I was debating whether to put him on my list or not. He's powerful. You always need a goon. You need a meathead. Somebody who's going to take the hits, somebody who can dish the hits out. He doesn't have to be the brightest bulb in the box, but you got to have him. So
can I throw in a surprise conversation here then with the other meathead I was considering?
I want to hear this one, yeah.
Because right now we've got 2 Ginyu Force members making the list. I'm just like, all right, like what if I throw in my other picks? That way we can vary it up a little bit and have the conversation around this.
Okay.
So for the team, because likability wise, I like Rakum better, which is why he was on my list and I suggested him. But from a henchman, like having a henchman perspective, I think Top is pretty compelling to be your goon.
Wow. Top was not who I thought you were going to say. I honestly thought you were going to go with like one of the other. There's a bunch of meatheads in the movies, and I avoided most of them because they are basically the same. Top is interesting though,
because I'm not going off of likability, because I think Rakum is obviously just a more likable character, and like I enjoy Rakum more than Top. But the thing is there's a few things with Top. One, he's fiercely loyal. Like, he's a great henchman. He's not going to stab you in the back, and in fact, he's going to pump you up. And I can't say that about any of these other henchmen. He's ridiculously strong, so he's a strength fighter, a goon like we were talking about. But he's not dumb. He's not a meathead. He can think. He's a tactician. He can add to your tactics in a battle, which is kind of awesome. Like, as much as I like Dabura as a fighter, we don't really have like a team leader here. So he can be both kind of your meathead fighter and the team leader. And to top it all off, you've got destruction magic coming into play, which is kind of insane.
So those are great points. I would love to have Rakum on the team, but I also, again, like I said, when I was coming up with my henchman, I didn't want to just recreate the Ginyu Force. Are you suggesting then that because we have two of the Ginyu Force that we should swap out Raccoon for Top?
I was asking your opinion on it. Would you pick for your henchman team as your goon? Would you like Raccoon or would you like Top better for your team of henchmen?
So me as like just personal taste, I like Raccoon more, but if I was actively trying to create the best henchman team, Top is the better choice.
See, that's kind of what I thought. And that's why I was so torn when I was saying, like, all right, I'm not sure which meathead to pick because there's what the heart wants and then there's what the brain wants. And yeah, I went with the heart. I went with Raccoon, but I'm glad that I was kind of able to give that pitch over to you because it was something that was really giving me some of that cognitive dissonance when I was trying to pick between the two characters.
I think I'm in that same boat with you. Like I just love Raccoon, but I think that you're making a very good point in that we don't have a leader. Like Dabura is the closest thing that we have to a leader, and he's just not a leader. He just doesn't have the attitude for it.
I mean, Captain Ginyu is what kept the Ginyu Force together, in my opinion, because without them, I think they fall apart.
And the funny thing is that with what are they called? The Pride Troopers, I think, for Top and Jiren. Jiren is like he's their strongest guy. He's arguably the leader, but Top is the guy who he plays the role of Captain Ginyu. He's the one who is like he's kind of the figurehead effectively, even though he's not the strongest fighter. So I think that he's perfect for that role, and he's still kind of considered a henchman because he's underneath Jiren, basically.
Yeah, it's Jiren's power that they all seem to kind of follow, right? But it's Top's words that kind of keep them motivated. He kind of keeps the team together, is what it seems like to me. Not that we really get a really deep look at them.
Yeah, I think we get enough to understand that Top is the one who's running the show effectively.
I'm going to keep Raccoon on the list because he's what I pitched, but Top was someone I really wanted to at least mention.
Okay, you want to stick with Raccoon then?
Yeah, let's stick with Raccoon because I think we both did love Raccoon, so we'll leave him on the team. But yeah, I was a little worried that if I didn't like really keep the Ginyu Force in check, that we would just pick the Ginyu Force again.
It's hard not to, man. They're a well put together team. But yeah, we can settle for two of them potentially. Well, we might see one of them might get cut here, but well, really because the one that I would cut from the ones that you provided would probably be Kishime, honestly. I'm not sure that part of it is just style, part of it is personality. Kishime has no personality. I don't think that he's a bad pick necessarily. I just think there's not a lot to him. Like he can stun guys, he maybe teleport. He has an interesting power, but that's kind of it. He's very loyal. I mean, he's made to be loyal. I think that's good. But I would take Dabura and Raccoon over him any day. Basically,
it's funny because both of our third picks were the movie henchmen, and it's because they're just not given the time of day that they deserve. Like I would have loved to have spent more time with these characters.
I very much agree, and that's the thing is that like I think we both picked them because they have interesting powers. Like they are interesting in that way, but there's not a lot of substance given to them beyond that, unfortunately.
Yeah, we don't know the deep origins of Kishime or Metamacha, unlike we do with like Mercenary Tao and his relations and how he came to power. Guldo and the team he was on, we actually know Guldo's personality. Dabura, same thing. We know even more about his backstory with the Chibi Dragon Ball. I forget what it's called.
I'm totally drawing a blank on it right now too. I want to call it Dragon Ball Magic.
Yes, that's it. Dragon Ball Magic. And I mean, gosh, if we could get these characters in a more longer form media, I think we would maybe grow to appreciate these characters more and actually get to know them. I'm trying to think because with the other four, we have Dabura, Raccoon, Guldo, and Mercenary Tao. How does this group function together? What's its strength and what does it need? Like, what do we need to add to it, right? Because Probably the biggest downside is maybe the thing I had mentioned earlier, where there's not really a cohesive leader to kind of keep all this together, right?
I think that is the biggest downside. The trouble is that I don't think that Kishime or Metamacha fixes that, either one of them. Um, mm, I mean, really, again, we picked those two are two like movie henchmen, and the only thing they really have going for them is that they have interesting powers. So it's just kind of a matter of like which interesting power best enhances the team that we already have. Um, I think that kind of is the conversation that we have to come to at this point, right?
Yeah. And man, because Kishime, he can kind of ensnare people with his whips. Metamacha ensnares people with his little dudes that he throws on them. So they're both kind of playing that tie people down role. The one thing I will give to Metamacha's advantage is that just by having the little dudes on you, they sap the energy out of you. Like just by being caught in that, even if you break free from it, you're being slowed down. And so there's definitely an advantage to the way Metamacha does. It's also less risk. He separates himself from the opponent, whereas Kishime, he has to actually get within range to get those whips on you.
It's true. Yeah, I gotta say that as I'm thinking on it, I feel like Metamacha's is more valuable. I think Kishime's is cool. Like Kishime's is stylish, but in terms of effectiveness, I think Metamacha definitely has the edge in just being able to produce so many. They can, there's not a lot of danger or risk to him. They kind of suck their energy and detonate. Like it's a little bit more versatile and effective, I think, than Kishime's.
And the weird quote unquote teleportation that Kishime does, I don't know the extent of that, so it's hard for me to really assign it any sort of, I guess, solid value. But the one caveat I do want to give with Metamacha is that in sports they have something called like the how they are in the locker room, like what their
Ah,
personalities like, what they do to the like the team environment. And I got to say, out of all the people in this list, he's probably going to be the hardest to get along with and just the guy who makes things. I could see Mercenary Tao just being fed up with his weirdness one day and just killing him in just like a stone cold fashion where it just comes out of nowhere, gives him the tongue, and he's done with him.
it's a very good point. I mean, I brought up Metamacho, we were kind of touching on that he's going to be the hardest to keep in check. We also don't really have. I mean, depending on how you want to gauge, we're not really doing power level, but like somebody like Dabura or Tao might be able to keep him in check just by the nature of being arguably stronger, or more lethal or dangerous. But that's kind of the only thing that's going to keep Metamacha in check. So I could see that being a point in Kishime's favor because Kishime is made, like designed to be loyal.
And one thing I don't think we really mentioned enough, though, is that Dabura is King Dabura. So there could actually be some leadership abilities that were not really shown. Like, I'm sure it's
Mm,
done in a way that the Demon King would do it, but at the same time, we're assembling a bad guy team. So some of those skills probably would transfer here. He probably rules through power and strength and fear. And I think that could very well work. I think that could be enough glue to keep this team together. And I'm going to go ahead and put that point in your category, Todd. I think King Dabura holds this team together enough to make Metamacha making the team enough of a benefit to edge out Kishime. What do you think?
I think it's a good point, and actually, I think it's a great point to bring up about Dabura in particular because it's Dragon Ball Daima. I had to think about the dang name,
There it
but
is.
uh, even in Daima, we kind of get to see the demon realm, and we get to see like people who are very afraid of the demon king Dabura, who his throne was lost when he got killed, but people were still afraid of him up to his and even after his death. So I think that's going to be the only way that this team is going to be held together at all if we don't substitute Top in here because yeah, the unfortunate part is that we don't get to see that from Dabura as much, but we kind of see the side effects of it in the demon realm in Dragon Ball Daima.
Yeah, there's definitely some leadership level to him, but that is definitely going to be a linchpin of this team. That if DeBurrow goes down, I think it's tough to keep everyone together and keep everyone focused. I mean, it's a bunch of weirdos, man. After DeBurrow, it's a bunch of weird guys, and it's going to be tough keeping them together. But I think with that, I think we've got our team of 5, right? I think that's everybody.
Yeah, yeah. Do you want to give our full list?
Yeah. So our team and its glorious leader, King Debura, is number 1. Number 2 on the list for me is Raccoon, who's going to be our big meathead just bashing people down. Number 3, we've got Guldo and his weird psychic time freezing powers, offering just one hell of a tilt to the battlefield. And then we've got Mercenary Tao with his just stealth abilities, his tracking abilities, and just his amazing fighting abilities. There's really not a downside to Mercenary Tao. He seems pretty well rounded.
Very
And
much.
then finally, we've got Meta Matcha, who's the weird pick, the weird guy, because Goldo wasn't weird enough. And his ability to summon little shits that run around just causing chaos. And that is our top 5 mercenary team.
What a wildly weird team this is.
Yeah, I don't think it stays together very long. I think we did a terrible job.
I mean,
So did you want to know my 5th pick that we didn't get to talk about?
yeah. Let's definitely hear your honorable mention here.
So my 5th honorable mention was actually General Blue.
Gosh, which one's blue? I think I'm thinking of silver.
So Blue is the blonde-haired guy
Okay.
who had like the psychic powers that could freeze people. And he was like an incredible martial artist. He was also very patient and would play the long game. He had tracked Goku for, I think, months to get the Dragon Ball. So he's another guy who had that like leadership ability, high tactical acumen, was good at martial arts. Like he basically beat Goku and Krillin in a fight. It's a miracle that they made it out of there. And he's got a cool power. Like there's just a lot to like about General Blue. But for me, it's just, I think he's kind of saddled with being one of the earliest Dragon Ball villains. So he doesn't have enough of the interesting stuff to push him into my top 3. But he made it on the list for me.
He was actually, when I was thinking of Mercenary Tao, it was actually between Tao and Blue. I couldn't remember. I think I get Blue and Silver mixed up sometimes, but those were the 2 in like the original Dragon Ball that I was like, either one of those would be a good pick.
I think Silver was Muscle Tower, right?
I think so. He had like the kind of like white silver hair. If I remember right, he was basically just like a smart meathead. Effectively, he was just strong.
Yeah, I think so. I think he was kind of like, Baby's first Red Ribbon villain. So General Blue was the next step above that. And that's why he got more interesting.
Yeah, his power is very strong though. Like it honestly, it's kind of like Goldo's a little bit. In that he could just kind of like freeze people in place effectively.
There are weird limitations to it though, because I guess he tried using it on Mercenary Tao, and Mercenary Tao just mentioned something like it just made him feel funny or weird or something like that. It didn't actually stop him. So I don't know the extent of that ability, but there's definitely a downside to it somewhere in there.
Yeah, and that could even be, well, I don't know. Sometimes that's
It's probably a
just like
power level thing, to be honest.
exactly. Yeah. So one of the earliest indications of like, oh, this guy's stronger than this guy, so his ability doesn't work on him. But
I mean, it's nice having a fighter who's both intelligent and, a capable battlefield opponent, right? Like that's one of those things I like about Debura is that he's smart and he's a good fighter. And so somebody like General Blue also kind of fills that role.
yes, yeah, I'm trying to think. I mean, we've got Raccoon is kind of like our big dumb guy. I don't know that any of the other ones are really. Goldo and Metamacha are not really one way or the other, I would say. Goldo's kind of bumbling sometimes, I guess, but I would say Tao is pretty smart.
I doubt Tao cares to be a leader, though. I don't think Tao cares about anyone but himself, or he'd be like, you all go get yourselves killed. I'll take care of the important stuff.
Yeah, Tao, there could be some arguments against Tao in that he's kind of a solo dude, but I still wanted to throw him on the team.
I thought he was I'm glad you added him.
Yeah.
But I mean, Did we go through your entire list? Was there anyone we were missing?
So I kind of bounced around a little bit because some of the ones that you threw in touched on the ones that I had in. So really, I'll give my full, like, just the read off of my 5, and even though I kind of like dipped into my reserves. So I had Goldo, Mercenary Tau, Metamacha, Dabura, and then I was struggling between Nappa and Raccoon. I technically put Nappa on here because I didn't want multiple Ginyu Force guys, but I also didn't want to put Nappa and Raccoon on a team together. They fill the same role, man. Like, they don't feel right together.
Yeah, it's tough, especially because if you have Nappa and Raccoon on the same team, then I feel like you've got two of like copies of the same personality. There's not a whole lot else that you can really play off. Does Nappa use the mouth laser too? I'm trying to remember.
I'm pretty sure he does.
Yeah, I was trying to say, I was like, the thing I always think about with Raccoon is like, yeah, it's so awesome that he uses the mouth blast. And it's like, I think Nappa uses the mouth blast too.
He might at some point.
He does, yeah, absolutely. Just there's the picture of it. Yep. So both of them are big goons that use mouth blasts.
Yeah, they don't. Like, when you said top, I was surprised because I really thought you were going to say Nappa, because Nappa and Raccoon have a lot of overlap in my head. I like Raccoon more because I think he's more fun and stylish. But I like Nappa a lot too. I like him as one of the earlier goons in Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah, and I mean, this was actually a lot of fun.
Yeah,
I actually enjoyed this episode a lot.
Yeah, this is a fun one. I'm trying to think. This might be one step too far, but what do you think we would name the group?
Oh gosh. Well, they all have some sort of theme that wraps it all together. And unfortunately, we don't have that, like, not everyone's named after a dairy or something like that. So
it's true.
It's got to be something. I don't know, man. The trash men. I don't know what to call these people.
I mean, they're all kind of like evil monsters. Not all monsters necessarily. Most of them are monsters in some way, shape, or form, except for really Tau. Raccoon is like, he looks human, but he's also supposed to be an alien, I think.
Yeah, I think you're right. Hey, Mercenary Tau does eventually become a cyborg.
He does become a cyborg. You're right. I don't know. I feel like, especially if a lot of them are monsters, almost all of them are evil in some way, shape, or form. And we've got the Demon King as effectively the leader of the group. Like, I feel like the name should kind of reflect that in some way.
The Despicables.
Ooh, that'd be a good one.
Man.
An easy one that just came to my mind is the Daima Force.
Okay, I'm into that. So there you have it. We've assembled the Daima Force. We've got our top 5 baddies that are going to go out and help us achieve universal domination.
Yeah, I think that's a good one. I think, yeah, these were just a lot of fun to put together and talk about. So
we get to talk about side characters, which is always my favorite thing to do.
Very much so. Yeah, I don't know. I think that's pretty much all I got. Do you have anything else to say about the Daima Force or anything else we did today, Dayton?
Hell no. Get us the hell out of here.
All right. That's going to be it for this episode of Instant Transmission, where we discuss everything Dragon Ball. This has been your host, Todd.
And Dayton.
Don't forget, we're on Patreon and Discord. If you think Dayton and I could make your own henchman team, you can find us at patreon.com/ITDBpodcast. The Discord link will be in the episode description, but you can also find it and all of our other links at linktree/ITDBpodcast. Thank you all so much for your support.
You get way underpaid for those outros, man.
I just keep writing them. Be sure to join us next time as we lay down for a nap in Sleeping Princess in Devil's Castle. Dayton and I will be watching movie number 2 in the Dragon Ball movie run. I usually write these outros having already watched the upcoming content, but I've never seen this movie, so we're freeballing it. Will there be a princess? Will she be sleeping? Will she have a career, a 401k, and be an independent woman who don't need no man to save her? This is Dragon Ball, so I doubt it, but Find out next time. And to all our fellow Dragon Ball fans, stay safe out there and remember to keep rocking the dragon.
God, I want that Daima Force intro for next episode.
Daima Force. Love it.